Hi everyone, I'm Any New Province, and welcome to my set review of War of the Spark for Pauper. War of the Spark may not have given Pauper that Tibalt Planeswalker they were looking for at common, but it has proven Wizards' loyalty to the Pauper format. WotC has outright said that they're looking to print more complex cards at common, meaning that New World Order may finally be coming to an end. Seeing abilities like Proliferate and repeatable card draw printed on common creatures gives me hope that this is definitely true. Alright, let's have a look at my top 5 commons from War of the Spark. Number 5. Spellgorger Weird. Pauper players love cantripping through their decks and casting as many inexpensive spells per turn as possible. This philosophy is what makes cards like Seeker of the Way and Kiln Fiend so powerful. Spellgorger Weird may be able to slot in alongside these creatures while hoarding counters to continuously be a threat to your opponent. We also have some redundancy in this effect with Pyrehound, meaning there could be a new shell forming around these quickly burgeoning cantrip lovers. A mono red deck is able to get value out of its graveyard, so spells like Faithful Saluting and Cathartic Reunion may be able to mimic the blue spells we typically Xerox with so that we can build a consistent mono red deck that has great threats like Spellgorger Weird. Number 4. Return to Nature. Return to Nature has my attention for more reasons than being a nod to my favorite Harvest Moon title. Green decks dedicate several sideboard slots to various modes of Return to Nature. Decks that are able to Gleeful Sabotage out of the board will likely skip it, but if you're lacking enough green creatures to consistently conspire, Return to Nature becomes an immediate contender. Gleeful Sabotage alternatives often come in the form of things like Serene Heart and Natural State, two cards that are far more limited than Return to Nature. Having both of these spells also takes up twice the sideboard space for the same effect. Low to the ground green decks may also cringe at the necessity of siding in Relic of Progenitus to battle Tron. Now, they can lean on this new Naturalize instead while covering their early game against Affinity and Boggles. While it may not feature in the main board, I can be fairly confident that we'll see Return to Nature in several 75s this upcoming season. Number 3. Lazotep Reaver. This zombie coming along with a friend is its greatest benefit, and it's going to allow Lazotep Reaver to rot directly into Zombie Tribal. This is because it enters the battlefield with 2 zombie bodies for Gempalm Polluter and Shepherd of Rot to take advantage of. Right now, Zombies is playing Sultai Emissary, which has the potential to create 2 bodies while hedging against removal, but only one of those bodies is a zombie, and the card you manifest could be a key piece like Grey Merchant of Asphodel. I could see Sultai Emissary coming out almost completely and be replaced by Lazotep Reavers. Carrion Feeder is included in most zombie tribal decks too, but it synergizes well with Lazotep Reaver in whatever deck they meet up in. You can even sacrifice your existing army token with Amass on the stack so that you always get the extra body to eat. This Amass mechanic is giving us a feast of new cards for our aristocratic needs. Number 2. Pollen Bright Druid. I'm thankful my initial reaction to Pollen Bright Druid wasn't allergic. Quite the opposite, actually. I think Pollen Bright Druid is one of the best additions from War of the Spark for our format. This creature's biggest strength is how far away from parasitic it is. The first mode enables the second, which, with a little bit of building around, could be backbreaking on board. The first place I think we could try out Pollen Bright Druid is in Mono Green Stompy. This deck is already blisteringly fast with Skargan Pit Skulk and Hunger of the Howl Pack. There may be a way to lean into Stompy's counter synergies just a bit more to arrive at the perfect Pollen Bright shell. The other deck I see Pollen Bright Druid hanging out in is Green-Black Aristocrats. Carrion Feeder and Mortician Beetle have been teaming up to post 5-0 results a lot more often recently, and a Pollen Bright Druid or two can represent a ton more power for both of these creatures and still serve as a reasonable bear to poke through damage with a Rancor when drawn late. Beyond these two archetypes, things like Pentad Prism and Infect creatures give you even more angles to consider Pollen Bright Druid's power from. This elf is so versatile, it has to make an impact somehow. Number 1. Vivian's Grizzly. So first off, Bear Spirit, that's an awesome creature type, and if that's got you excited about this card, you ain't heard nothing yet. Green decks in Pauper can generate a ton of mana early in the game from things like Modern's Utopia Sprawl Arbor Elf combo to more janky options like Far Wanderings. The issue with these decks is always consistency and card advantage. You can get lucky and stomp your opponent with a Colossal Dreadmoss starting on turn 4 sometimes, but Vivian's Grizzly is going to give you something to do with all of that mana if you don't draw your fatty. Another deck this roars right into is Elves. The Maverick Girl, our Hallmark Elves player, is suggesting even replacing Distant Melody with this spell because it can be hit off of Lead the Stampede and you can dump all of that extra elf mana into it. Even if it can't slot directly into an existing archetype, Vivian's Grizzly also gives us something to do with infinite mana generated in green so that we can flip all of our creatures in our deck into our hand, similar to how Duskwatch Recruiter functions in Modern. Having repeatable card draw on a stick like this is super powerful, and I can't wait to explore all the possibilities it presents. And there you have it, my top 5 commons from War of the Spark. This set is jam-packed with interesting engines and individually powerful cards. I know for sure that your top 5 has to look different than mine, so let me know in the comments down below what your top 5 cards from War of the Spark are. While you're down there, if you wouldn't mind liking the video and subscribing to the channel, I'd really appreciate it. It's a great way to let me know you've enjoyed this set review, and it really encourages me to keep making great Pauper content. It's obvious now that Wizards is loyal to making more complex commons, so loyal in fact that I have some honorable mentions that I have to chat about. Even if they're not going to make your decks this season, I think they're worth looking at for a brew around. Complexity returning to commons means more Pauper legal cards that have effects we've never seen before. Spark Reaper's Sacrifice effect is expensive, but it's the first creature printed at common with almost unconditional card draw. Creatures that make multiple bodies to sacrifice like Mogg War Marshal, and creatures that generate mana when they die like Cathodian should be some of the first places we look when trying to maximize this incredibly powerful ability. Teferi's Time Twist, on the other hand, is fairly costed and does something no other common is capable of at that cost. Players are looking forward to flickering their Reality Acid with Teferi's Time Twist so that they can kill a permanent while enchanting another on end step. Maybe you want to remove a creature forever, you can flicker your Journey to Nowhere with its trigger on the stack and take out another creature on end step too. How much a creature costs is directly related to how likely it'll see play in Pauper, and these next 2 cards are costed perfectly. Grim Initiate has the same upside as any other amass creature entering the format in that it represents 2 bodies and 2 power for a single mana. It could slot into a Rakdos Aristocrats list with a Hungry Carrion Feeder, or maybe find a home in an aggressive red list that can take advantage of multiple bodies on the first turn of the game. Banehound delivers a 2-point life swing each time it connects. Luckily, it also has haste, giving it an advantage over some of the other black 1-drops you find in mono black all-in aggro lists like Night Market Lookout. Redundancy is something that can help archetypes finally break through. These next 2 cards provide additional copies of effects we've seen before but could certainly use a bit more of. Arboreal Gazer can create crazy starts. A Reddit user brought up this line: first, play a forest and cast Arboreal Gazer. Use its ability to drop a Crumbling Vestige. Play a second Gazer and use its ability to drop a Karoo land. You'll end up with 4 mana on turn 2 and 2 bodies to work with. This line is already available with Crows and Wayfarer, but may not have happened consistently enough to be worth it. Alternatively, Guildpact Informant is simply our second creature that proliferates when it connects. Thrumming-Bird always has the eye of Pauper's Brewers because it allows you to put counters on everything multiple times if you build your deck to protect it. With this proliferating fairy entering your 75, you can be less worried about Thrumming-Bird surviving and include more proliferate payoffs in your deck to make sure you're always doing something explosive. And that's it. Almost all of the cards from War of the Spark that have me excited to start brewing as soon as we get our hands on it next weekend. Remember to leave a comment down below with all of the cards you're excited to brew with from War of the Spark. As always, we'll be posting gameplay with those new cards every Wednesday and Thursday night right here on the channel. If you want to see those cards play live, you can drop by twitch.tv/anynewprovince province every Tuesday and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Atlantic time. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed my War of the Spark set review, and hopefully I'll see you on Tuesday and Wednesday nights.